engineer at Google, working on their platforms and ecosystems. And me and so many other Google workers are out here today to protest against Project Nimbus, which is a partnership between Google and Amazon with the Israeli government that provides them with cloud services, including cloud computing power and data centers in Israel, including advanced AI technologies such as facial recognition and video analysis.
And there have been other demonstrations not to work on Nimbus. Why do they continue to do it?
Yeah, well, we're continuing to do this because Google leadership is refusing to listen to us. They have actively fought back against organizers in the past, including Ariel Coren, which is probably the most famous example. But we are determined to make sure to organize together. Yeah, we're determined to organize together because we fought against Google before to not profit off of war, and we're confident we can do it once again.
And there's a union here, Alphabet Workers Union. Are you a member of it?
Yes, I'm a member of the union, and I'm a proud member, and I'm glad they're here supporting all of us.
Is the union supporting this?
The union as a whole has not made a definitive statement on Project Nimbus, but many members are working together with us on the No Tech for Apartheid campaign.
Is opposition to what Google's doing growing in Google?
It definitely is. Even within the wider community, you can see like so many thousands, dozens of thousands have been protesting on the streets. And of course, this is reflected within Google as well. And unfortunately, retaliation against all of these workers organizing against Google has also increased. Like HR has been speaking with people who have spoken out against this issue and just, retaliate against them, and it's very unfortunate.
They're trying to suppress viewpoints.
Exactly, yeah. And I think the worst part is they're specifically targeting the most vulnerable communities during this time. I remember a story where multiple people were sharing a story through internal emails with their coworkers to talk about Project Nimbus and the Palestine issue. And out of all the ones that shared it, the only coworker that was Muslim was the one that had to talk to HR. And they were accused of being a terror supporter. I'm very proud to stand up against Google and protest against Project Nimbus, but of course I understand there are many that are, and that is why we're out here, to show that they are not alone and that together, by organizing labor power, we can win as a strong unit together.
Marissa Brown. So I'm here supporting the freedom and to end occupation in Palestine. I do social justice and climate equity work. This is a human rights issue, and this is also an environmental issue.
And this massacre that's going on, do you consider it genocide?
Yes.
Why is the United States supporting it?
I mean, it just aligns with colonialism and exploitation and the extraction of resources. Similar, that's what's happening in Africa and Congo, where they're extracting and mining for the purpose of getting critical minerals to power all this technology for all of these corporations. So it's capitalism.
I'm Izzy. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a white American queer Jew, live in San Francisco.
And what is Google got to do with what's going on today?
Well, if you read about Project Nimbus, you can see that they have a contract with the Israeli government where they supply them with technology that is being used right now to target and ultimately kill Palestinians.
And as an American Jew, there's some Jews, Zionists, who say that if you criticize Israel, you're anti-Semitic. What's your view about that?
I completely, fully reject that. I mean, I've had conversations with fellow Jews who've accused me of that. I think, growing up in Zionist environments, it's a very effective propagandic tool to tell us that Zionism and Judaism go hand in hand, when Judaism actually is a separate thing. It's not a political agenda for most people, and we should be allowed to criticize it, especially when violence is being conducted in our name.
And Israel is a Zionist state, is a Jewish state. What do you think about that? I mean, do you support a Jewish state?
Loaded question. I think that's something I'm still unpacking in terms of how to answer. I don't support Zionism, and right now Israel as an ethno-state, there's no way for it to exist as a current ethno-state without actively oppressing Palestinians, and that's something I can't support. I believe in safety for Israelis too. I want to see peace in the land, and I don't see that ever being possible as long as Palestinians continue to be actively oppressed by Israeli policies.
And people have said that Israel wants to take over Gaza and have settlements there, expand.
Yeah.
Are you concerned about that?
I'm extremely concerned about that. I mean, you've seen, the images that we're seeing coming out of, IDF soldiers, very like colonial vibes that are really disturbing. The fact that, Gazans continue to get put off, there's nowhere for them to go. And the fact that the Israeli government has done nothing about violent Jewish settlers in the West Bank gives us all reason to suspect that they won't honor that land as Palestinian.
And why do you think the United States, and both Biden and Democrats and Republicans, are in support of the Zionist state?
I mean, that goes way, way back, right? A lot of Western powers have their hand in this. I mean, there's profit, there's greed, there's a lot of political power, and there's a lot of incentive for Biden to continue to support Israel. The United States has always done that. So unfortunately right now, I mean, I think there's incentive to not to do that, but I think, profit, greed, and power is ultimately what it comes down to. And you see that with other Western countries as well.
This is war crimes! Pick a side! No more talk for genocide!
Pick a side! No more talk for genocide! Pick a side! No more talk for genocide!
One of the people that Israel killed was Mai Ubaid. Mai was a software engineer. She was valedictorian of her university and landed a Google-backed internship after graduating. She had muscular dystrophy and was a wheelchair user and was a disability justice activist. She dreamt of having a startup that would support people with disabilities. When she was martyred by an Israeli airstrike, she was in the middle of doing this internship. And yet, Google CEO Sundar Pichai has sent dozens of emails and public messages in support of Israeli Google employees, and yet has not said a single word about Mai's death. Shame on Sundar! Shame on Sundar!
Shame!
Mai was described as exceedingly kind, gracious, and driven. She was described as a gazelle. And Google is silent and complacent in Mai's death. Shame on Sundar! Shame on Google!
Google, Google, you can't hide! We charge you with genocide! Google, Google, you can't hide! We charge you with genocide! Google, Google, you can't hide! We charge you with genocide! Google, Google, you can't hide! We charge you with genocide! Google, Google, you can't hide! We charge you with genocide! Google, Google, you can't hide! We charge you with genocide!
Google, Google, you can't hide!
We charge you with genocide! Google, Google, you can't hide! We charge you with genocide!
Google, Google, you can't hide!
We charge you with genocide!
Google, Google, you can't hide!
We charge you with genocide!
Google, Google,
You can't hide! We charge you with genocide! Google, Google, you can't hide! We charge you with genocide!
Google, Google, you can't hide!
We charge you with genocide! Google, Google, you can't hide! We charge you with genocide! The first person who will speak out today is a Google software engineer. Please welcome Anna to the stage.
I'm Anna. I'm a Google worker. I'm a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, and I'm here in support of No Tech for Apartheid. I am here in opposition to Israel's system of apartheid that curtails Palestinian rights and ends Palestinian lives, a system that my employer materially supports through its involvement with Project Nimbus. When Google or its spokespersons comment on Project Nimbus, it is framed as a project to, quote, provide public cloud services to help address Israel's challenges within the public sector, including in healthcare, transportation, and education, unquote. Any mention of military use is consistently absent from Google's comments. The Israeli government, however, is far more open about military involvement in Project Nimbus. An Israeli government press release published at the beginning of this year stated in no uncertain terms that the Israel Defense Force, the military that has killed more than 18,000 people in Gaza in 2 months, including over 7,000 children, is among the government institutions that are leading the project. Project Nimbus began in the midst of the Israeli government's rapid expansion of surveillance of Palestinians using a massive database of facial recognition data collected in the West Bank. Last year, reporting in The Intercept revealed that the services offered by Google to the Israeli government include exactly the sorts of machine learning and analysis tools that enable Israel to continue to expand its comprehensive, inhumane system of digital and physical surveillance of Palestinians. Israel's use of sophisticated modern technology in Palestine does not, however, end up surveillance. A recently published article written by Yuval Abraham, based on interviews with current and former Israeli intelligence insiders, reveals the IDF's use of a system called the Gospel, an artificial intelligence system that generates targets for military attacks at an unprecedented, previously unimaginable scale. Many of the targets the Gospel marks for strikes are civilian infrastructure, including residential towers and private homes. The ongoing massacre in Gaza leaves no room for doubt. AI is being used by the IDF as a technological pretense for the killings of thousands of civilians in Gaza. Meanwhile, Google Cloud is celebrating its first profitable year, no doubt in part off of its lucrative contract with the Israeli government, providing the Israeli state with vast amounts of compute power, while the IDF is using artificial intelligence in its killing of thousands of Gazans, amounts to war profiteering and enabling of genocide. That is why, with grief for Gaza in my heart, I am publicly joining many of my colleagues in condemning Google's continued support of Project Nimbus, and in calling on Google to drop the project. I also stand here today in solidarity with my fellow Google workers who choose to remain anonymous in their opposition to Project Nimbus for fear of retaliation. Google has a growing track record of retaliation against workers who speak out about Project Nimbus, creating a chilling effect for dissent on the project. And finally, to all of my fellow Google workers, especially those in Google Cloud, I urge you to stand with us and refuse for your labor to be used for the enabling of apartheid, violations of international law, and collective punishment by the Israeli military. Individual workers alone have little sway with their employer, but together our organized collective efforts can be a force for change, for peace, and for justice. Thank you.
Our next speaker is an organizer with the Palestinian youth movement. For the past year, he has worked tirelessly to organize against AI-enabled abuses of Palestinian human rights. Please welcome Rami from the PYM.
Google, you can't hide.
Google, you can't hide.
No AI for genocide.
No AI for genocide.
Google, you can't hide.
Google, you can't hide.
No AI for genocide.
No AI for genocide.
Thank you everyone so much for coming out today and confronting Google for its investments and its crimes against humanity. We are gathered here today to call for an end to the tech industry's complicity in the genocide of the Palestinian people. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free particular, is actively supplying the Israeli military with technology that is being used to fulfill the dystopian goals of settler colonialism. By supplying the Israeli military with surveillance tools used to actively target Palestinians, Google is an active participant in Israel's horrific creation of a death world in Gaza. As people of conscience standing against genocide, we demand an immediate end to Google's blood-soaked Project Nimbus contract. I applaud you all for coming out today to support this effort and raising your voices high against genocide. While we have a long paper trail of meticulous documentation of how Israel uses surveillance technology to violate Palestinians' daily lives and right to privacy in the West Bank and Jerusalem, monitoring their digital activity, stopping them at military checkpoints, and storing children's biometric data through a system called Blue Wolf. Boo! However, we did not know how Israel was using AI technology on the ground in battle and in combat. In an article published 2 weeks ago, journalists uncovered an AI system called the Gospel. This system can generate targets, up to 100 targets a day at an unprecedented amount, more than ever possible. And this was done through the use of technology and AI. Israel's AI-powered genocide is being fueled by tech companies like Google, and it cannot go on for one more day. Just a few weeks ago, Mai Obeid, a Palestinian youth in Gaza, was murdered along with her entire family in an airstrike. Allah yarhamha. Before her death, she interned with a Google program and had dreams of developing a platform for people with disabilities to talk and connect. Google is providing the tools of murder for the same genocidal entity that stripped Mai of her future. To this day, Google refuses to publicly or internally acknowledge her death, because then they would be acknowledging the material reality of their $1.2 billion contract with Israel. Shame! They would be admitting to creating the same tools that killed Mai and her family. Google was more concerned about the Google office spaces in Israel than they were about their own employee who was killed by the technology that they sustained and helped to create. Justice for Mai Obeid and justice for the steadfast Palestinian people. The Zionist and genocidal nature and death cult of Zionism is on full display for the world to see. And the steadfast nature of the Palestinian people is more evident than ever. We will never turn a blind eye to the crimes of Zionism, nor will we ever let Israel's accomplices get away with their role in the Palestinian genocide. Never! We here in the diaspora have an active role in ensuring the survival of our steadfast people and of our homeland. And that happens through taking the streets, dismantling Zionism from every single institution, and keeping Palestinian liberation within our sights and within our grasps. We are here today to show Google that its material support for the oppression of any people is intolerable and it is unsustainable. The external and the internal pressure on every single one of these institutions responsible for the refusal of Palestinian self-determination will continue until our core demands are met. They are as follows. Number one, Google must end Project Nimbus and its blood-soaked contract with the Israeli military. Number two, ceasefire now!
Ceasefire now!
No, fire now!
Ceasefire now!
Number four, reject the new Nakba, no pushing Palestinians into Egypt or Jordan, and right of return for Palestinian refugees now. And number five, release of all Palestinian hostages from the torture chambers of Zionist prisons immediately. Down with the weapons contractors of the world. Continue showing up for Palestine, continue boycotting and taking direct action, keeping Palestine in the news cycle and in the feeds and in your conversations every single day, and confront Zionism every day head on. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
The next person we'll hear from today is a Palestinian Google worker who remains anonymous due to Google's racist scare tactics. Boo! That have been used to make Palestinian workers feel unsafe. The worker's testimony will be read aloud by Layla. Layla is an organizer with PSL and a tech worker who has worked tirelessly to advocate for Palestinian rights.
I am a Palestinian who has worked at Google for over a decade. And while I would love to be addressing you all personally, I do not feel safe doing so. Since October 7th, Google has not felt like a safe space to raise concerns for Palestinian human rights. It has not been safe to question Google's complicity in the avalanche of man-made suffering in Gaza. As a long-time Googler, I've given a great deal of my life to the company. I care deeply about my coworkers and what this company once represented. I remember the days of don't be evil. I remember the days when I genuinely believed that Google was not like other corporations, and that they acted with good intent, and that they put societal good over profit. Perhaps I was foolish, or perhaps things have changed. With Project Nimbus, the $1.2 billion cloud contract with the Israeli government, it is evident that Google is putting profit over human rights. Aside from the unprecedented AI-powered genocide taking place in Gaza, Google's technology will strengthen and uphold Israel's systemic violence against the Palestinians. Shame! Shame! From facial recognition surveillance to apartheid court systems to the ever-expanding illegal settlements, I am disheartened and devastated that the company I've given so much to is using my labor to oppress, dispossess, and murder my people. I call on Google to live up to its ideals and to put humanity ahead of profit.
speaker is Noor, a Google worker, who will speak with us about her experience of discrimination at Google and why she opposes Project Nimbus.
Hello, San Francisco. My name is Noor, and I'm an Egyptian American and the granddaughter of immigrants. I also work as a data scientist at Google. My name, Noor, means light, and in this time of grief, there is no stronger light than our collective action and solidarity with the people of Palestine. I studied philosophy and data science in university, and one of the most important things I learned was the incredible responsibility we have to eliminate bias in our work. There are dire consequences of failing to do so. For instance, most people know that our prison systems are systematically biased against Black and brown people. What do you think happens when you train a model on a racist system without addressing the bias in? You get AI tools like Project Nimbus that perpetuate the unjust disparities and the violence that was already too present in our society. Shame! University is where I learned about bias from a technical perspective, but my experience with bias began in an elementary school classroom. I was born in '99 in Chicago, in a post-9/11 world where my classmates, as children, were already being conditioned to fear Muslims and Arabs. My mother's answer to this was to come into my 2nd and 3rd grade classrooms during the holy month of Ramadan and hand out dates, chocolate moon, and stars to all of the kids. And while we ate, she talked to us, these 2nd and 3rd graders, about what it means to be a Muslim. And every Ramadan, for all my siblings, she did this. In an America socialized to hate us, my mother's attempts to keep us safe, my mother's response to raising Muslim children was one of love and education and community. My mother knew that it was necessary to humanize us, to humanize the Muslim experience, and to combat the bias that the Western media had created. Living with the everyday consequences of bias was a core experience of my childhood. Challenging bias was what drew me to work at Google. It is the same necessity to address hate-induced bias that brings me to speak with you today. As 20,000 people have been killed in 2 months, and thousands of Palestinians, including children, are still under the rubble, as the media continues its campaign of dehumanization and perpetuating hateful bias just as it did 20 years ago, I stand before you to say, we, as tech workers, will not be complicit. According to investigative journalism by an Israeli publication, Israel is using AI to increase the speed at which it's bombing human targets, resulting in Palestinian civilians being murdered at a faster rate than ever before in history. I work as a data scientist at Google, and I condemn the use of AI for genocide. I condemn the complicity of big tech in supporting AI-powered military targeting. And as long as we are here today, we will stand against anti-Palestinian biases being perpetuated throughout these systems. I chose to work at Google because of the company's strong ethical charter. To this day, I believe in Google's AI principles, but I do not see them when I look at Project Nimbus. As your colleague and fellow Googler, here is what are Google's AI principles. First, be socially the use of AI for genocide. I condemn the complicity of big tech in supporting AI-powered military targeting. And as long as we are here today, we will stand against anti-Palestinian biases being perpetuated throughout these systems. I chose to work at Google because of the company's strong ethical charter. To this day, I believe in Google's AI principles, but I do not see them when I look at Project Nimbus. As your colleague and fellow Googler, here is what are Google's AI principles. First, be socially beneficial. Let's remind ourselves that Project Nimbus includes AI tools which have been suggested by Google engineers to tell if someone is being truthful or not. Do you think Project Nimbus aligns with this first principle? No. We are neglecting to uphold our responsibility to ethical AI and protecting our community. The second AI principle is avoid creating or reinforcing unfair bias. Let me give you an example of what I looked up recently on Google's Gen AI platform. When I asked this chatbot if Palestinians deserve to be free, it gave a long, winding answer about history and conflict and didn't answer the question. Yeah.
Say.
When I asked this chatbot if Israelis deserve to be free, it said yes, all people deserve to be free. Who is going to tell Bard that nobody is free until we are all free? The last principle that stuck out to me the most was be accountable to people. Ya Jamaa, we are failing our accountability to the people of Gaza. We as workers have a right to speak out about any and all ethical failures in our workplace. These are the principles that Google has employed us to defend. So I ask my colleagues, are you prepared to take responsibility for what you bring into this world? If you feel the way I do, then I urge you to work with us to protect humanity, not let the dehumanization we are currently seeing seep into our work. That's why, as a Muslim among my Jewish siblings, as an Egyptian among Pan-Arab unity, and as a human among humanity, we say no tech for apartheid! No tech for apartheid! Shukran.